Hello, I'm Paul Carroll, technical writer for Digital Photo Magazine, and welcome to this month's Digital Darkroom video tutorials. Sadly, we've come to the end of our Digital Darkroom series. Over the last 10 months, we've brought you loads of brilliant techniques for creating superb black and white images. And now we're at the end, there's no better way to conclude the series by showing you some great ways of presenting the mono shots which are hopefully sitting in your collections. This month's video tutorials will be brought to you in two parts. In part 1, we'll be looking at how to get your mono shots ready for printing on an A4 printer by resizing them and then adding a thin black border that really frames your shot in a simple but effective way. I'll also show you how to use the blackline borders that we're giving away on this month's free CD. We've got 10 borders for you to use. And the great thing about them is they're really easy to add to your mono images. In part 2, we're looking at how to frame a mono image using a film rebate border. In the traditional wet darkroom, printers used glass negative holders that allowed them to print the spool of the film. That's the bits on the edge which allowed the film to be wound on, as well as the image itself. Obviously on digital images there's no rebate. But we're giving away 6 scans of film rebates on this month's CD. So now there's no reason why you can't create this classic look digitally. Okay, I'll close down these example images and then we can kick off with part 1. We want to make sure our image is A4. So start by creating a new document. Go up to the File menu and down to New and across to Blank File. The image we're going to be working with is in a landscape format, so we need to set up an A4 document in landscape. To do that, where it says pixels under the width and height boxes, change that to centimeters, and then we need to enter the dimensions of A4. So that's a width of 29.7 centimeters with a height of 21 centimeters. Obviously, if you're working with a portrait image, then those figures will be the other way around. Now, for the best print quality, we want to set the resolution to 300 pixels per inch and then just click OK. Next we want to open the mono image that we're working with. So off the CD, open the image high key, or if you're using one of your own images, try to pick out a high key image like the one we have here, or a black and white image which has a lot of light tones, because that will be really enhanced by the simple black line border. Okay, so holding down the Control key on the keyboard, I'm going to press the letter A to select the entire image. Then I'm still holding down the Control key, I'm going to press the letter C to copy those pixels to the computer's memory. I can now minimize my high key image. I'm back on my new blank document. If I hold down the Control key again and press the letter V, I copy my image onto my new blank document. Now, as you can see, my image is larger than A4, and at the moment the portrait is being cropped. So what I need to do is I need to resize my image. And I can do that using the transform tool. But first I need to create a little bit of space around the image. So to do that, I'm just going to click in the bottom right hand corner with my mouse and drag out the window. There we go. Now holding down the Control key and pressing the letter T on the keyboard, I bring up the transform bounding box, and that allows me to resize my image. Now I want to make sure that the proportions of my image stay the same. I don't want to stretch or skew it. So make sure up in the options bar at the top here, constrain proportions is ticked. Hover your mouse over one of the transform box corner handles and you see that you'll get a double-headed arrow, and that indicates that we can resize the transform box. And by holding down the Alt key on the keyboard and then clicking with your left mouse button and dragging the transform box inwards, you can see that we're now resizing the image inwards. So something around that size looks good. I need to reposition the image though, because as you can see it's sort of in the bottom right hand corner. So to do that, I'm just going to click within the transform box with my left mouse button, and then holding it down I can drag the image around and reposition it in the center of my blank canvas. And once I'm happy with the size and the position, all I need to do is just click the green tick here in the bottom right hand corner, and that accepts my transform. Okay, so I'm now ready to add my black line border. Now I just want to add it round the image itself, and to do that all I need to do is hold down the Control key on the keyboard and click on the image thumbnail in the layers palette. you can see that my image is sitting on layer 1 at the top of the palette. And by clicking with my left mouse button, I now bring up a marching ant selection just around the image. Now I'm going to add the black line border on a separate layer. So if I just bring my layers palette a little bit more into screen, and then if I go up to the layer menu, down to new and across to layer, and just click OK, then I create a new layer at the top of the stack. And you can see that my new layer, layer 2, is highlighted, so any border that I now add to the image will be added to layer 2. And that will give us all the control of the layers palette to adjust the border if we want to. So to create the border, I'm just going to go up to the edit menu and down to stroke outline selection. I'm going to set a width of 20 pixels. That will be the width of the border. I'm going to choose a colour. At the moment I've got a nice shade of purple, but for this effect we want a black. So go into the colour picker and just click in the bottom right hand corner for black, and then I can click OK. And we also need to set the location of the stroke. At the moment the location is set to centre, but the centre and the outside options are no good for this technique because they'll give us rounded corners. And because we're using this as a border, we want nice sharp right angles. So to get those we just need to click the inside option. And we can leave the blending mode set to normal and the opacity 100% and just click OK. And there you go. You can see that we've added a simple black line border. If I just hold down the control key and press the letter D on the keyboard, then I deselect my marching ants. So adding a black line border really is as simple as that. As I say, because we've got our border on its own layer, we can now use the opacity slider in the layers palette just to reduce the opacity of the border and create a more of a grey border. But I'm going to leave mine as black. Once you're happy with your border effect, then you can go up to the File menu and down to Save As, and save the image as a Photoshop document if you want to retain your layers, or for a smaller compressed file, just select JPEG from the format list, and that will compress the layers and save a smaller file type. Okay, I'm just going to cancel that, and then I'll show you how to use the borders that were given away on this month's CD. I'll minimise our border picture, and on the CD, within the Start Images folder, you'll find a subfolder which is called Borders. And in there are 10 borders that we've created for you using a number of different lines and line thicknesses. So have a browse through them, and once you've decided which one you want to use, open it up into Elements. For this technique I'm going to use border 5, and you can see that we've got a 3-line border with 2 thin lines and 1 thicker line in the middle. And there's a cutout within the border, which is where we're going to place our image. So we need an image to use within our border. I'm going to use the same image as before. So if I go up to the window menu, I can go down to High Key, which just brings up the image which I've already got open. Hold down the Control key and press the letter A on the keyboard to select all the pixels within our image. And then still holding down the Control key, press the letter C to copy the pixels to the computer's memory. Now I can just minimize our high key image because we're done with that. And then holding down the Control key again and pressing the letter V on the keyboard, I paste our image on top of our border template. Okay, so now to make our image pop through the cutout in our border template, we need our image layer to be underneath our border layer. This is really easy to do, but you need to make sure that you've got your layers palette open on the screen. If your layers palette isn't open, then simply go up to the window menu and down to layers, and it will pop up on the screen. Now I'm just going to expand my layers palette a little bit so we've got some space underneath layer 1. Now all we need to do is click with our left mouse button on layer 2 and hold down our mouse button, and then drag layer 2 underneath layer 1 and release my mouse button. And there you go. You can see that our image layer is now underneath our border layer, and we can see part of the image through the cutout in the border. Next, all we need to do is resize our image so that it fits nicely within our border cutout. And I'm going to do that using the transform bounding box. But first I need a little bit more room around my image, so I'm just going to click and drag out my window pane just so I've got a little bit more space around my image. Okay, now if I hold down Control on the keyboard and press the letter T, I bring up the transform bounding box, making sure the constrain proportions box up here in the options bar at the top of the screen is ticked. I can then hover my mouse over one of the corner control handles. I'm going to use the one in the bottom right hand corner of the image underneath the layers palette here, and I'll hover over the corner control handle until I see that double headed arrow, and then I just click with my left mouse button and hold the mouse button down and then drag the transform box inward to resize the image. And there you go, you can see as I'm dragging it, I'm resizing my image. Once the image is the right size for the border cutout, release the mouse button. And now we just need to reposition the image in the center of the frame. And we can do that simply by clicking with our left mouse button and holding our mouse button down anywhere within the transform bounding box, and then just dragging the image around. So I'm going to move the image a little bit to the right, just so it's framed better within the border cutout. Just move my layers palette out of the way so I could just got a better view of the whole frame. There we go, that looks about right. So once you're happy with the image size and position within the cutout, all you need to do is go down to the green tick in the bottom right hand corner and click to accept the transform change. And there we go, it really is as easy as that to use our border templates. Give these techniques a go using the border templates and start images of this month's CD, and then get framing your own mono images in the future. Cheers!